What's up, everybody? Alex here from BassBitesFishing, coming at you with a new video. I actually filmed this video yesterday, but I didn't really like how it turned out, so I decided to come back today and film it. It's a little bit windy, so hopefully the audio isn't too messed up, but we're gonna just roll with it out here. Actually today I'm gonna be making snakehead fishing tips and best lures part 2, or I guess the revamped version, because I made this video about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. And I didn't know much about snakehead fishing, really. I kind of just made the video. But I know way more about it now than I did 3 years ago. And a lot of stuff that I said in that video, I actually don't agree with or don't even use those tips anymore. So I decided to make a new one, pretty much. So I've got 5 baits that I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about some snakehead tips for the upcoming spring and things like that, and the setups you're going to want to use to catch some snakehead. So let's get right into it. The first bait I'm going to talk to you guys about here is the chatterbait. So here we go. Nice Z-Man chatterbait right there. Doesn't matter the color, doesn't matter the trailer, as long as you just match it to whatever your water clarity happens to be that day, or whatever you know works best. And if you are a snakehead fisherman like me, an avid one, you know that the chatterbait is probably the best overall snakehead bait, or at least in my opinion it is. It's very similar to a spinnerbait, as you know, and it just goes through the weeds well. You can fish around wood, weeds, things like that. Muddy water, clear water, anything. They love the chatterbait. Best overall snakehead bait in my opinion. And I always throw this on. If I'm at a new area searching for snakehead, I always throw this on because it will get them most of the time. So chatterbait, very good snakehead bait right there. The next bait I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about right now is the spinnerbait. A lot of guys say that this is their favorite snakehead bait, and I can see why. A lot of guys down at the river use it a lot, ponds, things like that. It has the same application kind of as a chatterbait. I kind of think of the chatterbait and spinnerbait more of a preference thing. The reason I don't use the spinnerbait, however, is because it is kind of a bigger profile, and the hookups usually aren't as good on the spinnerbait as they are with the chatterbait. So that's just my opinion, but a lot of guys do use the spinnerbait. I actually caught my first snakehead ever on a spinnerbait, so goes without saying that they do work well. This one has a Colorado blade. Obviously, that doesn't matter. You can use whatever blades you want. I just used this one for an example right there. So that is the spinnerbait. Next bait I'm going to talk to you guys about is some people's favorite snakehead bait. I'm going to tell you why it's not my favorite and not a go-to for me. But just the simple frog right here, used in lily pads, grass mats, things like that. The frog is, as you know, a very good snakehead bait, or else I wouldn't be showing it. A lot of people use this bait. The reason I do not use it though is because the hookups are terrible. Snakehead have very thick mouths, and you have to get a good hook set, and a lot of times those 2 little hooks aren't going to get them. It will generate a lot of bites, but you will not generate a lot of hookups most of the time. So that is why I just don't use the frog very often, but very, very popular snakehead bait, especially in those lily pads and thick grass mats and things like that, where you can't use things like the chatterbait or the spinnerbait. All right, next bait I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about is something that I have been using more and more last year and the year before, is these storm swim baits. Now these are a little bit too big. These are the 4-inch. I'd usually go for 2.5 to 3 inches. The 4-inch is a little too big unless you're going for those really, really big snakehead, but these things generate a lot of bites, and it generates a lot of hookups too. The hookup ratio is pretty good on these things, surprisingly, especially for the smaller ones, because the snakehead can actually swallow the bait. So it just works really well. It's really natural. A lot of snakehead are actually pretty, in these more finicky areas where there's a lot of pressure, they love these things because they look so natural in the water, and just looks like a little bait fish swimming by, and they absolutely crush them when you throw them near them. I've never really seen one actually pass one of these up before. It's a very, very good bait. Normally I go the 2.5 to 3 inches. I use white. White is a color I use a lot when I'm snakehead fishing. I don't know, I just like it. I feel like it stands out and the fish can see it a little better, and it works. So yeah. All right, guys, the last bait I'm going to talk to you about right now is a secret bait of mine. I figured this bait out. I don't remember. I think I was just experimenting, and I found that Snakehead absolutely love these things. The Strike King Rage Tail Crawl. I'm going to tell you a little secret about using these for Snakehead. Here's what you do. You take a 5/0 worm hook, and you just throw one of these bad guys on. Very, very simple. No weight. Do not put a weight on it. Because what you do with this bait is you skim it. You just kind of swim it right under the water. You work the rod while you're reeling it in, and it creates this great action right under the surface of the water, and they will come up and they will crush this thing. This gets so many fish. I catch so many of my snakehead on these rage crawls. I go through bags of these every year, tons of bags of these, because they absolutely destroy these things. They love them. Any crawl really would work, but you want those claws moving. That's why these are so good, is it creates such a commotion and such a disturbance in the water that they absolutely annihilate these things. And this is my secret bait. I'm kind of exposing it right now, but this will get you a snakehead. If you're searching for that first snakehead, this bait, if you know that they're in a certain body of water, this bait will always get them. I love them for sight fishing. It literally works almost every time. So great bait right here, the Rage Tail Cross, and again in white. So that's all the baits I have for you guys. I'm gonna go over kind of your setups, what kind of line you want to use. Typically when I'm snakehead fishing, because I'm at shore, I use a 6/6 or 7-foot rod, medium, heavy, or heavy. Heavy is probably better because you don't want to risk it really, and you're going to be fishing around a lot of tight cover, like those big fallen laydowns and the grass mats and things like that. So you're going to want a 7-foot to 6/6 if you're fishing from shore, heavy or medium heavy. You can use medium heavy, just don't use medium. You don't want to risk that. It's a bad idea. And then if you're fishing off a boat, obviously I can't really give you great tips on that, but if you want to go a bit longer with your rod, that's fine. But you want a high-speed reel as well, and I usually go 50 to 65 pound braid. Again, you don't want to risk it. If the snakehead are being a bit more finicky, you can use maybe a 17 pound fluoro, 15, 70 pound fluoro, if you can get away with that. I wouldn't recommend using a spinning rod. You could use a spinning rod to catch a snakehead. I've done it before, but I just wouldn't recommend it. You definitely want to go bait caster almost every time when you're using snakehead fishing, and you got to get those precision casts really. So that's why I just use a bait caster. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this snakehead fishing tips video. Hopefully it helps you guys out. Send it to someone who's getting into snakehead fishing, or someone you know who loves snakehead fishing. Hopefully these 5 baits helped them out a little bit, and I'm ready to go get some snakehead. Unfortunately, it's not warm enough here yet. Give it a couple more weeks and we should be back on them. But anyway, guys, if you want to see more tips and tricks, let me know. I will make another video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye, guys.